like to give you a brief introduction into different adaptations for mental illness. First, to understand adaptations for mental illness, you have to know what mental illness is. So it can be defined as a condition that impacts a person's thinking, feeling, or mood and may affect his or her ability to relate to others and function on a daily basis. Each person's experience with a mental illness can be different despite being diagnosed with the same actual disorder. Recovery for most of these illnesses can actually be partial to mostly cured based off of how early it is started on with treatments. Many different factors combine to cause these illnesses, such as genetics, experiences, environments, and lifestyles. First, we have bipolar disorder. So, bipolar disorder is a condition in which an individual cycles through episodes of depression and mania. This means that they go from really low, really sad depression to really high, really happy, overly exertic risk takers. And this causes a significant effect of one's ability to function in daily life, including work, social situations, decision making, risk taking, etc. This is caused by genetic stress and brain function. There are actually 4 different types of bipolar disorder, and these include bipolar 1, bipolar 2, psychothematic disorder, and bipolar disorder unspecified. So each of these have different ranges on how long the manic or depressive episode lasts and the intensity of them. Through medications and psychotherapy, these can help to be treated and help a student out. So first, for adaptations, you need to understand that these students will be on medications for the most part, and it can cause different side effects. Because of these side effects, you have to be able to adapt to them. One major side effect is blurred vision. So because of blurred vision, you may want to provide less reading assignments, provide notes and listening guides, a reduction in homework, better seating, and you also want to allow them to have access to water and bathroom usage. Some other adaptations, which are quite common in other mental illnesses, are allowing typing assignments instead of handwritten, extended times on tests, shortened assignments, etc. Next, we have depressive disorder. So according to the DSM-5, depression can be defined as a presence of sad, empty, or irritable mood accompanied by somatic and cognitive changes that significantly affect the individual's capacity to function. So some of these depressive disorders include disruptive mood regulation disorder, major depressive disorder, seasonal affective disorder, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, substance medication induced depression disorder, etc. The differences between these diagnoses of these disorders is often how it occurs, how long it is, and how severe it is. And this can also be treated through medical medications. It can be treated through therapy, different types of functions like that. Some of these symptoms that may arise through these different depressive disorders are lack of interest, lack of energy, low self-esteem, a loss of appetite, this a sense of hopelessness. They tend to be self-harmers or have suicidal thoughts. Some adaptations for these are frequent feedback on any type of performance that the student may have. You have to make sure to teach them different goal-setting skills. You have to keep a goal log. That way they can understand that they're making these achievements and that they're reaching them, and you have to make these goals achievable. This way the student has a sense of purpose, and it allows for them to feel like they have achieved something as opposed to just be so hard on themselves. You have to teach them problem-solving skills. You have to make sure that you monitor students. You want to make sure that if there's any type of changes in them, notice if they tend to have longer sleeves, so you can see if maybe they're possibly self-harming, stuff like that. You want to make sure to give them frequent breaks, but at the same time you want to make sure that you can monitor these breaks. That's way it's not them going off to go do self-harm or something like that. And then, just like with other stuff, extended times for tests, limit assignments, lessen the homework load, make it a more positive work environment as opposed to something where they're just going to be overly stressed out and hard on themselves. Next is borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder, or BPD, is characterized by pervasive instability in moods, interpersonal relationships, self-image, behavior. Borderline personality disorder is often mistaken for bipolar disorder or depression disorders. So the difference between this is that when somebody's bipolar or depressive, they may have suffered severe mood swings, but these would last for days, weeks on end. Whereas a person with borderline personality disorder may experience like ex severe bouts of anger, depression, anxiety, but it'll only last a few hours to a day at most. It doesn't last very long. But these mood swings are very intense, and it causes a person to be very impulsive and can cause aggression, self-injury, and drug or alcohol abuse. For these adaptations for students, you want to make sure that you give preferential seating, especially near the door, to allow for breaks. You want to assign a classmate as a volunteer, possibly to help with assistance, allow them to have water in classroom, some type of beverage like that. Tape recorder use, so you can have them listen to their notes over and over again. Allow extended testing periods, shorten works. Give them early access to a syllabus or textbook or assignments. That way they know that it's ahead of time and it doesn't cause such stress, which then in turn causes an intense mood swing. And then you want to also make sure to give them just maybe an area or time for them to cool down, because though they may get frustrated and violent quickly, it also is only a brief period and then they will come down from it. The next disorder we have is obsessive compulsive disorder, or OCD. OCD is characterized by a constant obsession which can lead to a repetitive behavior. So this means that they may have obsessions which are often caused by unreasonable thoughts and or fears. One who experiences OCD may or may not realize that they actually have these obsessions or unreasonable fears, or that they are unreasonable at all. These obsessions often cause an increase in stress and anxiety and can lead to ritualistic behaviors. So these students like rituals and like everything to be set ahead of time, and any changes to that can set them off and cause them to be anxious or very nervous and cause them to have these different anxiety attacks. Quite often, these actions may include like passing papers between students, like decontamination. They like to wash their hands a lot. And so whenever they touch papers that other students pass to them, they get grossed out and they have to wash their hands. So they have a constant hand washing need for a lot of them. But OCD does vary depending on the person, and it's very individual basis. Some different adaptations would be allow them to have hand sanitizer in lieu of constant bathroom visits, because if they overly wash their hands, it can be harmful and they'll get chapped hands. Have a seat that's closer to the teacher so the teacher can redirect any unwanted attention and make it more appropriate attention that they're getting. Provide notes or outlines ahead of time. Reduce the homework amount. Allow them to type assignments as opposed to writing, because some of them do get upset over writing because they'll get the lead from a pencil or the ink or markers on their hands, and they don't like that, so they have to constantly wash. OCD students tend to love visual organizing systems. So anything that's color-coded, anything that's very organized, some type of daily planner would also help, because these students are very ritualistic and they love their schedules to be set, and also provide the student ahead of time with any knowledge that there might be a change throughout the day from the normal schedule. That way it allows them to be able to adapt. Next is post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. So PTSD does occur in students and teenagers. Many people think that PTSD is just caused from going to war and you get flashbacks from war. So PTSD is actually triggered by terrifying events while they're experiencing it or witnessing it. So these can be flashbacks, nightmares, severe anxiety, uncontrollable thoughts. So children tend to get this, and it's mostly caused from something that they see or happen. So such events that may be included in these are sexual or physical abuse, other violent crimes, some type of major disaster such as floods, tornadoes, a school shooting, car crashes, fires can cause these. Other events that can happen like this would be if they happen to be in a war zone, a friend's suicide, or just seeing violence in the area can cause them to have PTSD. Studies show about 15 to 43% of girls and 14 to 43% of boys go through at least one type of trauma, and of these children and teens, 3 3% to 15% of the girls and 1 to 6% of boys develop PTSD to this. And it's also believed that not a lot of PTSD or abusive cases are reported. So these numbers are actually estimated and are believed to be much higher because not a lot of cases are presented. So different adaptations would be to make sure that you provide a safe and acceptance in a classroom, so a safe environment. You want to avoid circumstances that could upset or trigger the child, so whatever happened to them, try to get a knowledge basis ahead of time from parents, the psychologist at the school, something like that, so you understand what was the event that caused this PTSD, and then you can help understand what triggers the student. You want to make sure to provide a consistent routine, and if there's ever a change in this routine, you want to make sure to give the student a heads up ahead of time. That way they know what the change is and it won't cause too much stress, because PTSD can be caused by stress. And you want to make sure that you avoid any language that is just like, this is crazy or this is bad. You want to make sure to provide a positive environment. You can shorten the assignments, just anything that can be done to possibly reduce stress, extend test taking. And you want to make sure that the student just feels safe is the main thing. Anxiety disorders. So anxiety disorders involve more than temporary worry or fear. For a person with an anxiety disorder, an anxiety does not go away and can get worse over time. So there are many different types of anxiety disorders. Some examples are panic disorder, social anxiety disorder, phobias like agoraphobia, where you don't want to go outside, arachnophobia, stuff like that. A person experiencing an anxiety disorder may experience restlessness, fatigue, difficulty concentrating, irritability, sleep problems, feelings of fear, etc. These emotional symptoms can cause physical symptoms as well, which are like nausea, sweating, constant trembling or shaking, panic attacks, upset stomachs, headaches, different types of stuff, just from a normal panic attack. These can also be treated through medication and therapy. So an anxiety disorder adaptation, you want to make sure to allow extended time on tests, allow for breaks so they can, if they're feeling stressed, they can have a break, they can go get a trip to get water. You want to allow the students to possibly leave early so they avoid the large groups. Maybe some alternatives to oral presentations would be a written presentation that they give to you, something where they're not overly stressed out and in front of a lot of people, because that causes them to be anxious and then causes them to have anxiety attacks as well. Provide a daily routine, give them planners ahead of time. That way it helps them organize their thoughts and organize everything properly, and it allows for a less stressful environment. Reduce homework. And then another big thing is make sure, again, if there's any change in the day, allow the communication between the student. That way you can help them know that there is going to be a change in the day, and it reduces their anxiety. Schizophrenia. This is a more severe mental disorder, and it can cause a person to experience difficulty with activities of daily living. They possibly can experience delusions, hallucinations, and paranoia. So schizophrenic individuals typically demonstrate or concentrate thought processing and appreciate structure and routines. This disorder can affect a person's ability to manage their emotions severely, and it tends to make them to have high-risk decisions. This means that they are more likely to self-harm. They're more likely to go all in into something without thinking of any of the consequences. This can also cause a severe drop of performance in classroom and social situations, and it may cause them to act out violently. And schizophrenia may be caused by environmental, genetics, brain chemistry, substance abuse, etc. So the different adaptations for schizophrenia allow for an extended test taking, allow for extended homework assignments, or you can reduce homework assignments or homework load, provide daily routines, provide outlines and notes for the classroom, allow for breaks to reduce stress, different things like this. You mainly want to reduce stress for the student in any possible way, and you want to help them reach